Hi everyone, Janet here. In today's video, I want to talk to you about guilt, because guilt is a really common emotion when it comes to weight loss, and certainly for me is something that I used to feel commonly. For me, I think it's a really important topic for us to discuss, because guilt, it comes in at almost every stage of the journey. Now, I used to feel guilty to start with just for being overweight, for not being able to lose weight. I used to feel guilty in the supermarket. I'd be putting my things on the conveyor belt, and I would imagine that people were looking at my food choices and that they would be criticising those and, going, well, now that you can see that's why she's fat. And that would bring along terrible feelings of guilt, and yet I still did it. But when we then embark upon this Paul McKenna journey, then there's a whole new set of feelings of guilt. It might be guilt for choosing actually what you want to eat, because it goes against conventional diets. You might actually feel guilty for choosing something that on something else might be banned, or you might be made to feel guilty by friends and family that are looking at what you're having and going, really? I thought you were trying to lose weight. And it's a very difficult thing for us to have to deal with. Not only that, you might feel guilty for leaving food on your plate when you're full. That's a really common thing, because obviously we grow up being told to finish what's on our plate. And then also you might feel guilty for actually losing weight. You might have friends and family that don't really kind of want you to lose weight, if that's the right thing to say. It's a difficult one, but I actually I had a friendship that broke down really, and I know that she felt a bit uncomfortable about me losing weight, and in actual fact, I think how it worked out was that she tried to make me feel guilty for losing weight, I guess for leaving her behind. I don't know, I guess it highlighted the fact that she wasn't losing weight, and we were always, the big, cuddly girls together, and I think that came about, and so I felt then guilty for then losing weight and doing better for myself, which is ridiculous. But guilt just doesn't seem to, know when to stop. It can come at all different parts of the journey. So one, I think it's really important for us to talk about and accept. But there's one particular area that I do want to talk about a little bit more today, and that's about the guilt of leaving food on our plates. As I said, I come from a generation where we are taught to clear what's on our plate. I remember, there's starving people in Africa. I always used to think, well, how do starving people in Africa have anything to do with me leaving food on my plate? We're not going to package it up and send it over. It didn't really make any sense to me, but nevertheless, guilt was part of that. And now there's this thing where if we are eating really consciously, mindfully, and you'll have seen that other video that I did on mindful eating. Well, if you do that and then stop when you're full, it might mean that there's quite a bit of food left on the plate. Now, that in itself can make you feel uncomfortable. Do you know what? I still feel uncomfortable, particularly if I'm in a restaurant and I have to leave food, because I kind of think it feels like it's rude, like there's something wrong with the food, and of course there isn't. It's just that I'm not hungry anymore, so I want to leave it. So there's a couple of things that we can do to help us combat that. So certainly for me, I now at home use a smaller plate. It means that I put less food on that plate. It means that I don't feel guilty for leaving food at the end, even though I do leave some sometimes. It means that I'm not leaving a lot. So using a smaller plate. But when I go out to restaurants now, I will either, depending on, I know how hungry I am, but quite often I'll just order a starter. If I know that I'm not going to be eating that much, I'll just order a starter. Or do you know what I've done recently? I've actually asked for half-size portions. I actually took my mother, it was her 70th birthday, and for a real treat, I've never done anything like this before, we went to Raymond Blanc's restaurant, Le Manoir de Quatre Saisons, and oh, it's beautiful, and they had a 5-course taster menu. Oh my God, it was amazing. But I knew that I just was very unlikely to be able to eat everything, particularly a 5-course meal. So in advance, I said to them, look, do you mind giving me half-size portions? They didn't mind at all. It meant that I wasn't wasting food, and it meant that I didn't feel guilty, and it meant that I still got to enjoy the most beautiful meal. So that's one aspect, that don't feel afraid to ask for smaller portions. Don't feel afraid to ask for a doggy bag to take food home with. But most importantly, don't feel afraid to put yourself first. Remember that this guilt is just a transient emotion. It's going to go. And at the end of the day, you're doing something really good for you. Now, remember, the people that served your food, they don't know how hungry you are. They don't know whether you've eaten 2-3 hours ago or 6-7-8 hours ago. They don't know whether you're starving, hungry, or just a little bit, you know. It's just, don't let somebody else control how much you eat and how you feel about it. Now, I know it's a lot more complicated than that. And I know that particularly when it comes to friends and family making you feel guilty, maybe, that's a whole new dynamic. But it's so important to remember why you're doing this. You need to put yourself first. You need to plan in advance, knowing that maybe you're not going to eat as much. And forgive yourself for feeling that emotion. So it's something that we all feel. So don't let it be that thing that you think it's just you. It happens. Forgive yourself. And I know that it's something that you'll just get used to. Anyway, I hope you have a great weekend, and as always, I will speak to you soon. Take care then. Bye-bye.